Investing in your financial future can be intimidating for some people and downright frightening for many, but a good advisor can help ease your fears and concerns. Joining us now with the first step is Emmett Dupas, Wealth Management Advisor with Bienville Capital Group. Thank you for all the tips. Especially today, right? You're going to make this palpable for us.
We're trying to. Obviously, it's a bit of a process from the beginning till we get to this part, and so we're excited again about sharing information so that the viewers can have successful retirement outcomes, successful education planning, successful whatever they're trying to do with their money. So.
Wonderful. So how do I know which investments are right for me?
Challenging. One of the things that we try and do with our most prospective investors or even 401k participants is having you go through the process of evaluating yourself. What kind of investor am I? Each of us are different.
Sure.
Some of us willing to take on more risk. Some of us are more conservative in that process. So the right answer for you is trying to remove the emotion from the process of investing. We get very emotional about our money. Kids, family, spouse, money comes right up in there and what we get emotional about.
Right.
And so what's the right investment? So we go through, as any prospective investor should, is go through a questionnaire to try and evaluate yourself. For many people, it's foreign to them. They don't understand this. So we go through a process of removing that emotion from the process of investing so you understand what your risk is, what your objectives are, and then you'll see along the way.
Okay, so we do have the Q&A, but before we go there, let's talk about risk tolerance and how a financial professional measures your risk tolerance.
Yeah, so how do I know which investments are right? So what's the risk tolerance? So is the money really for long-term goals or short-term goals?
Okay.
Is this, I'm buying a house in the next year or two? Is this education planning for my child or children? Is this a wedding fund? Is this my retirement money? And so, or is this money really set to generate additional household income for me in retirement? So understanding what the objectives are versus the risk component.
Sure.
So as we talk about risk component, people are conservative, they think they're conservative, they're moderately conservative, they're balanced, they're aggressive, or some people may be very aggressive. So going through this questionnaire, which you're going to see in a moment, we go through some of the questions today, is helping you evaluate where you should be, not how you feel.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, you got to remove the feelings from the investing part.
Right, okay. All right, so let's start with the Q&A. So here's the first question. What is your primary goal for these invested assets?
Yeah, so as we go through these questions, so one of the things you'd say, okay, well, what are my goals for this? Is this really preservation of my principal? Listen, Emmett, I really don't want to lose any of this money. It's important. I've built up this nest egg. How do I preserve this to make sure that it's there? The return of my money is more important than the return on my money. Or you go through and you say, okay, well, I want these dollars to generate additional income for me. Income with some growth. Growth with some income, or really, you know what, this is really more on the longer term, capital appreciation and growth. I need this money to grow over a long period of time, and so therefore you're on the other end of the spectrum.
Okay, and I do like the arrow there, risk of loss spectrum,
and as you're watching this, you can see the minimal risk on one end and the significant risk on the other, and the moderate ends up, for most people, you end up somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
Again, everyone's different. I mean, that's kind of the point.
Everybody's different. So, you'll have your coworkers or your family members say, well, I've got this investment, I've got that investment. It might not be the right one for you. And I really think that's why working with a financial professional really makes a lot of sense for people to again, remove that emotion and help you understand why you should be diversified, why you should have the risk that you do based on your objectives.
Sure. And I mean, I guess I would argue that unless you have a family member who, was really up on this, I mean, there might not be the best person to ask advice, right?
I think you've got to take a look at the family member's experience, whether they're professional or not.
Feelings.
Listen, mom and dad may invest the money differently than you should be investing the money, or your aunt and your uncle, or your brother, or your child who's the financial person who's trying to give you some guidance, may be doing it in a different manner than you should be.
Right.
For those people older who are getting younger person's advice. So.
Right. Okay, so let's go on to question number 2. How many years do you plan to invest these assets before you anticipate making withdrawals?
Very important question.
Okay.
So, for you, obviously you're 29, so you've got more than 20 years to go until retirement or to whatever the goals are. No, but for a person who's saying, listen, I really need this money in less than 3 years. My goal is to a second house for my education purposes. what we're trying to do, again, measure is what's the time frame of this particular bucket of money. Now, you may look at different accounts in different ways, and so your retirement bucket's managed in a different way than your personal bucket or your child's education funding or personal management of your personal investments that you may want to do something different with. And so what that question does is it goes through that process of helping us evaluate what's the time frame.
Sure. Okay. Question number 3. Let's see. Once you have reached the point where you would like to take withdrawals from these assets, how long will you be making withdrawals from this investment?
Yes. So is this bucket of money really a one-time lump sum? I'm going to take it all at one time. So that wouldn't be the retirement money. So the one lump sum is, listen, I've got this bucket of money. I want to do this for X number of times. My child's education, the house, I want to pay off something. I want to do something different. A big trip that I'm planning for. That would be really the one-time lump sum distribution. As you go through it, it's really 1 to 5 years. Where am I in the spectrum of what my goals are?
Sure.
And what the objectives are, what I'm trying to use the money for. And so what you could probably see here is that more than 20 years has a higher score than one that's going to be on the shorter end of one lump sum distribution.
Wonderful. So overall, I mean, can you kind of just wrap this up for us? I mean,
yeah, I think as you look at risk, as you look at your objectives, what you really need to understand is that as we go through and we score those, and I don't know if we're going to be able to show the other slide, we come up with a score on an asset allocation model for people who work with us.
Sure.
And we go through it, and what you're going to see here in this very small print, but there's about 12 questions that we go through to help determine what kind of investor you should be based on your risk. There is no such thing as no risk outside of U.S. Treasuries. So there's going to be a varying degree of risk in any of your investments that are available to you. What this does is it helps financial professionals diversify it based on the way you answer the questions. So as you can see here, there's a number of different colored charts in that thing, and it looks very small print. We go through that, and you should, as a consumer, look at each one of those and say, am I diversified properly in what I'm trying to accomplish based on my risk?
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for the tips.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us again.
So to learn more, you can head to bienvillecapitalgroup.com, call 504-620-4801, or visit 111 Veterans Memorial Boulevard, Suite 940 in Metairie. And of course, there's much more to come on Great Day after the break. Stick with us.